This is Pluto in Sagittarius, or in the 9th house. So you've got a few ways you can look at this. And also I've got the selection of houses 1 to 8 already done. So you can go back and check my other videos to see that. But let's go with this today. Pluto in the 9th house, Sagittarius. So I'm going to talk to you about Pluto. I'm going to read the side. So Pluto in evolutionary astrology relates to the soul and the soul's underlying evolutionary desire. It is the depth of our unconscious and out of our awareness. We can see that we may repeat unwanted patterns or experience the same repeating life issues. Our own Pluto placement and our transit holds information that, when understood, can smooth our passage through time. So next slide. So knowing our Pluto placement and our chart helps us to objectify, to look at our life and know self. The transit and our solar returns and our aspects to Pluto show us what is being reborn and what is dying or stale and what needs to change or be released. It is looking to see what needs to end to allow for a rebirth and regeneration to occur in our lives. Through life, we often, not all, but most of us do, often experience a dark night of the soul, and this is the door to the deeper self. So stopping there, when we have crises, it will send us deeper into ourself, and then we get to objectify and really look at what's going on for us. So our life experiences need to be examined so any wounding or painful events can be thawed out, which allows for a rebirth to take place. And I would add there that through, childhood trauma as an example, or events in the past that have really hurt us, relationships, that when we examine the wounding and we're not disassociating, that we allow ourselves to blossom and flourish. And we are here to live fully with an open heart and explore the world and to transform and transmute that which holds us back. So the big question that many people get to at some point in their lives, maybe everybody at varying degrees, but generally later than earlier, is the question, why am I here? So we might ask that when we're in our, earlier years, but there comes a point when I think for many, as we go through life and we experience, being in work that we hate or relationships that aren't working for us, we get more to that really wanting to know the answer to that question. And evolutionary astrology is one way of getting to that point to, objectify and look at that, why am I here? And a chart, an astrology chart, will indicate and show those or answer some of those questions. There you go. Now, what I've got here, I'm going to get my pointer. Give me a moment. So what we have here is this is a solar return chart, and you can see it says solar return where my pointer is there. And I was born on the 21st of May, 1966. So what we've got here is that this is dated 21st of May, 2019. And this shows the flavor, so to speak, the planets of my year ahead, which this is very indicative of what the year ahead is going to be like. So it's very fascinating to know what's going on for us. Through the time, date, place and birth, we can access that information. A normal chart, which is a natal chart, calling it normal, but it's a natal chart, will show when we have our time, date and place, we'll be able to see our rising sign, which is that line there, the AC. I'm a Scorpio rising, and you can see here, that's my sun, which is 0 degrees, just over 0 degrees of Gemini, and my moon is in Gemini. So we can see the rising sign, the sun sign, and then the moon sign. And the moon, this is why we need time of birth. This is why it's vital. The moon takes 28 days as an example to move around or orb a chart. The sun takes 300, and it takes a year. And each planet is moving around the chart at its own speed. So for instance, Pluto, which is here, I've got conjunct Uranus on my MC conjunction there. And this basically is Pluto, and my Pluto is in Virgo. And for each person, it's going to be different based on time, date, and place. And also, I'd like to show you this. My transit, a transit is where the planets are today. So for instance, Jupiter today for all of us is in Sagittarius, but it won't be in the same place because it will depend on our rising sign, which will change what house our planets are in. And it's deep work, astrology, understanding and synthesizing all of this information. So you can see my Pluto is in the second house, and it's my second house currently is Capricorn, but I've also got part of my second house is in Aquarius as well. So next slide. I'm going to go here, and so what we've got is that a natal chart, it represents our potential, and it also represents what we have been and where we are at and what we can become. So a natal chart is like a snapshot of the heavens at the time of birth, like a complete still moment. And Pluto in our chart, it works in 3 ways in our chart. So it can, number 1 is cataclysmic due to resistance. And what that means is that when we resist the changes that we need to make, for instance, an example would be that if you know you have like a health issue and that you've got to stop eating sugar, but you continue to eat sugar, then basically it could lead to a cataclysmic event. So the whole point of understanding where our Pluto is to be able to objectify, and the whole chart, but to be able to objectify and look at what we're resisting and then get to a point of understanding where we need to change. Number 2, willing to change in some ways and resisting in other ways out of fear of uncertainty. And then we've got number 3, which is to jump in with one's heart and soul with the desire to understand and learn, eliminating resistance. So we generally, people, most of us are at 2, but for some things we can be at 3, and some, as we learn about who we are, we're at different levels at different things. And we do have free will, and knowing this means we get to make choices. It is important we look at the totality of a chart, and in evolutionary astrology, the baseline used will be Pluto and the node, North Node and the South Node. Okay, that's good to know how it works. So next slide is the one we've been waiting for. So if you've got Pluto in your 9th house or in Sagittarius, this is going to apply to you. So the 9th house or Sagittarius. So Pluto here is where we will experience general growth. I'm going to move that. Pluto here is where we will experience general growth, and also we will confront the limitations of our own philosophical ideas and beliefs. For growth, here one must use their inner guidance that will lead to initiation to the appropriate path. And here one must find their own center. There may be visions and feelings evoked that are intuitive in nature. There may be visions of the future, new ideas, directions that are based on visions or on intuitive prompts can be acted upon. Here one must learn to trust impulses of an intuitive nature. This time is positive, and one will be future orientated and optimistic. This is a time for putting into motion all that is new, and then a time for following through. Existing reality will need to be confronted to allow for the new to come in. The way in which we were shaped in the past may come into conflict with our new needs and desires, and one may draw events that will directly challenge what currently exists. The outer confrontations will be a reflection and will confront inner limitations. Outer confrontations will often be positive in nature. Others may want to point out the weak links in our position also, and others' reasons will be truthful and sincere to encourage the person to evolve. The growth will come from the external environment, and Jupiter needs also to be looked at here, looking at this placement where our Jupiter is. So going on, we've got, this is a time of deepening one's intuitive capacity, and there will be an increasing ability to understand one's own now reality and all that has gone before. What is known will just appear into the awareness with this placement. The past will be felt as a restraint. Dissatisfaction can create restlessness at this time. Changes that are required will be known before the change itself. Meanings will be known, and with the potential opportunities will also be known. If any attempt to hold on to the past will not work, as changes will occur anyway. It is a time of knowing that even if changes are hard, they must be made. All is known and in its unfolding. One may wish to be free of all that currently exists in their lives, but growth takes time and it needs to be digested and worked through. Uncontrolled growth can create problems for people. We need a reason to wish for the new, so the old has a purpose as a baseline to what is new. Beliefs will be expanded upon, including religious. That which is spiritual and philosophical will be transformed. We will draw in the needed circumstances to show us our own limitations. When we have new realizations, we do transform. This is an important time to listen to others' ideas in a responsive way, to consider all possibilities and not to react in a defensive way. Rejecting others' ideas and being reactionary stunts our own expansion. If others' ideas fit, then they can be used and implemented into our lives. Here, the experiences of growth that is intensified, and this is with optimism. Intuition is intensified, and here one grows based on their karmic needs. So I've got Pluto in my 9th house, but in Virgo. So I would also read Virgo as well. So I don't know if I've got the top of my head missing there. So let's see what we've got next. So here, I love this. This is Uganda. And he says, mankind is engaged in an eternal quest for that something else he hopes will bring him happiness, complete and unending. And for those individual souls who have sought and found God, the search is over. He is that something else. So the way I read that, we're all going to read it differently, but for me, there is no separation, so to speak, like, you know, that everything is connected and that God is not outside of myself. That's my own belief. And, you know, we've all got different beliefs of what God is to us or the meaning of that. So next slide. Carl Jung, one of my favorite people in the world. He's passed in 1961, but he was the creator of psychoanalysis along with Freud. And these statements really do remind me of Pluto. He says here, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. So we have a great ability to objectify as human beings through knowledge and understanding and looking at the bigger picture. And we can objectify ourselves, like we can see, which, you know, when we get to a particular age, not particularly when we're children, but as we grow into adults and through life, we can objectify. He also says what you resist not only persists, but it will grow in size. So clearly resisting what needs to be changed then is going to grow in size and be a problem. That's what it means. And resistance determines the magnitude of our problems or confrontations. So those are things worth seriously thinking about. And I'm ending off here with the source material is Jeff Wolf Green, Pluto 1, Evolutionary Journey of the Soul. So do get that book. You can get it on Amazon. And I like my Carl Jung quotes that I put there and the Uganda quote, and a couple of those pictures were from Google. And finally, if you want me to look at your chart with you and read it with you, then it's beneficial that you have your time of birth. But also, I look forward to, if you've got any questions, then you can comment below or feel free to send me an email or come and check me out on my Facebook page, which you can also find in the links below. And also you can book me as well. So there you go.